Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Boardman and I'm the English lead here at Earlham Primary School. Today I would like to talk to you about the progression of reading. The teaching of reading begins in early years as soon as the children start school and does not finish until they leave in year 6. Reading in early years Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 looks different, so I'd like to give you a snippet as to what this looks like in each key stage. So on the screen you will see a snippet of our reading progression map. I've focused on two areas, word reading and fluency. Now, word reading is basically what it says, it's reading words. And this starts in early years when children are developing their phonological awareness. So the sounds, they're listening for sounds in phase 1 phonics, hearing rhymes, being able to clap or count syllables in words and recognising same initial sounds, and in reception when they are learning their phase 2 and 3 phonics sounds. When a child enters year 1, they are still using all this knowledge that they learn in early years to decode words and all the knowledge that they're learning in year 1, all those phase 5 sounds. In year 2, we give the children the opportunity to practice using their phonic knowledge to respond speedily when they're decoding words. So we want them to start picking up the pace. In year 3, we want the children to use their phonic knowledge to decode quickly and accurately, and to apply their growing knowledge of root words, prefixes and suffixes to begin to read out loud. When they get to year 4, they will apply their growing knowledge of root words, prefixes and suffixes to read aloud fluently and understand the meaning of new words. So it's building that fluency, that speed that they're reading at. We want them to do it accurately with less and less mistakes as they go through. In year 4, we want the children to read most words fluently and attempt to decode unfamiliar words with an increasing speed and skill. So we're still using phonics, we're still relying on our phonics to help us decode words, but we're just doing it a little bit quicker. In upper key stage 2, year 5 and 6, we want the children to read aloud fluently. So by the time they get to year 6, they can read fluently and they understand the meaning of new words that they meet by applying their knowledge that they already have of root words, prefixes and suffixes. So they're looking at recognising the meaning of unfamiliar words through contextual clues. So looking at the text, what context is that word in? Now, when we look at fluency, fluency is how well we read. So how many mistakes do we make? How quickly do we do this? So we really focus on fluency within early years and year 1 and year 2. So in early years, we want the children to blend sounds into words. They can read short words made up of letter sound correspondences. So they're reading these CVC words, these very short words. And we want them to be able to read simple phrases and sentences made up of words and with what they already know. So using their knowledge to help them read simple words. Now, in year 1, we want the children to read aloud accurately with books that match their phonic knowledge and that do not require them to use other strategies to work out words. We don't want them looking at pictures and things like that. We want them to use their phonics. We also want them to reread to build their confidence and their fluency. In year 2, again, we want the children to read aloud books and words that they frequently encounter very, very quickly and accurately. We don't want them sounding out too much. At this point, we want them to be able to, start decoding without having to overtly sound out. And we also want them to recognise alternative sounds. So we do this by helping the children reread books to build up their fluency and their confidence in word reading. Now, in Key Stage 2, the teaching of comprehension skills takes precedence over teaching of reading and fluency specifically, well, word reading and fluency specifically. However, still do give the children the opportunity to read and practice rereading those texts. So while the child is still accessing phase 5 phonics, so they're still learning phase 5 phonics, they will have two books, a decodable book and a book-banded book. So they have a decodable book while they are still learning phonics. Once the child is secure in phase 5 phonics, they come off that decodable book and they go on to book-banded books, purely book-banded books. They won't bring home decodable books anymore. Now, book-banded books focus on, yes, the word reading and building the fluency. However, they do focus on comprehension as well, so helping a child understand what they have read. So if we were looking here at the targets for blue, so if a child was on a blue book, they would have to meet these targets before they moved on to the next book band, which would be green. So a child on blue book, they would be working towards choosing books that they are interested in from the library. So knowing what they like reading and being able to pick books that are in line with what their interests are. They would be able to talk about a story in their own words. They will start to choose different books to read. They don't always need the pictures to help them understand the story, so they're reading and they're understanding from what they have read, not necessarily what they can see. They will notice and correct some of their mistakes. So when a child is reading aloud, they will hear that they have made a mistake and they can go back and correct it themselves. And they will answer questions about the story to show a level of understanding. So it might be, what colour was the child's top, or where did the child go that day? Or have you been to the beach? What did you do at the beach? Now, children here, if we look at the bottom target for blue, it is about word reading. And we want children to read words such as some, little, when, and out. So we're still focusing on word reading as well as their comprehension skills. Okay, so while we are focusing on children's word reading in year 1 and building their fluency and their phonological skills, we still want to build their understanding and their comprehension skills. So we do this through guided reading lessons. So in year 1, the children do not use text for their guided reading lesson. They will use pictures. And this is because they're not fully able to decode any text yet because they haven't finished phase 5 phonics. They can still learn the comprehension skills, just in a different way. So the children will have a text that focuses on pictures. So it might have a few words on it, but not many. They will use that picture to help them answer questions. So they're looking at the picture and being able to apply their understanding from that picture to the questions that are being asked. So we're beginning to develop their comprehension skills. Once a child completes phase 5 phonics, they should be able to decode any text using their phonics skills. From years 2 to year 6, we use the Reading Explorers guided reading scheme. This is a skills-based journey and it helps the children to develop their comprehension skills. Okay, so as I said previously, Reading Explorers is a skills-based program. So we're looking at building the children's reading and study skills, specific skills. Now, through the Reading Explorers books, there are 5 thinking and reasoning skills that the program contains, and they are literal thinking, deductive reasoning, inferential skills, evaluative assessment of text, and study skills, which will promote wider independent study. On the screen, there is an example text from a Year 5 book and the questions that match the text. Now, this text going for gold is a literal text. However, there is deductive text and inferential text within there as well. Throughout the week, teachers will focus on one text and they will unpick that text and really dive deep into it throughout the week, teaching children those skills. Now, the lessons are split up into the warm-up questions, the essential vocabulary, the main questions, and the evaluative questions. So, essential vocabulary. This teaches children the skills needed to work out the meaning of words they don't know. So it does this by looking at the words or phrases in context, and this means using the text so far, the sentences around them, and what the children already know about the plot to figure out what the word must mean. So, questions that could come under essential vocabulary may be, what does this word tell us about the character, the setting, the atmosphere? Look at that sentence or passage and circle a word or phrase that means the same as such and such. Which word or phrase gives us the impression that the main character is happy, sad? Why did the author use this word to describe a character, describe the setting? What might that mean? Or what do you think the author is saying when they write such and such? So it's really helping the children develop the skills needed to be able to work out what words mean in context. So they're using those contextual clues. So, as I said previously, the Reading Explorers scheme is a skills-based program. So we're teaching children the skills they need to be able to understand text. So the texts are split into literal, deductive, and inference, and each text focuses on one of these key skills. So when we look at literal skills, we're teaching the children to find the answer in the text. So, for example, what are the characters called? What does character A do for work? What colour were the parrot's feathers? So we're literally using the text to find the answers. We're not having to dig deeper into the text. All the answers are there. We just need to find them. So on the screen now, there is a text. And it's a short text about Chinese New Year. And all the questions that are on the screen, the answers can be found in the text. So, why were the family having a special dinner? So, once a child has read the text, they will be able to answer that. They're not having to find the clues or anything like that. They will literally find the answer in the text. So, give two people who are sat around the table. So, again, the answer will be in the text. Put ticks in the table to show which sentences are true and which are false. So, they need to read each statement and tick whether it's true or false. The answer will be in the text. So when we're developing literal skills, we're literally finding the answer in the text. So we move on from literal skills to deductive reasoning. Now, deductive reasoning is using the text to help make conclusions based on what you have read. So it's kind of finding clues within the text. So it's drawing a conclusion based on true statements. So on the screen, there is a text that has deductive questions with it. So when Maisie drew her curtains that morning, she smiled and wrapped her arms around herself. There'd be no school today, that's for sure. She would get wrapped up and dig her sleigh out of the garage. Then she would spend the rest of the day wrapped in a blanket. Porridge for breakfast, I think, she said. So the children would read the text and then answer the questions. So what did Maisie see outside her bedroom window? Now, it doesn't tell us what she saw. However, if we look at the text, there are some clues. So we know that there'll be no school today. We know that she needed to get wrapped up, so we can assume that it's cold outside. And she was going to go and dig her sleigh out of the garage. Well, if she's going on a sleigh, there must be snow. So when Macy opened the curtains, what did she see outside her bedroom window? She saw snow. It doesn't tell us that in the text, but we can use the clues to help us draw that conclusion. So why was she going to have porridge for breakfast? Well, we've said, haven't we, that it was cold, so porridge is warm. That might be one. She's going out sledging, so she might need some energy. Porridge releases energy. So the children again can use clues in the text to help them answer the questions. So how did Maisie feel about there being no school today? Well, if we look at the text, she wrapped her arms around herself. She said there'd be no school today. She said she was going to wrap herself up and dig out a sleigh. So if she's going to dig out her sleigh, then she's obviously quite excited, isn't she? She's going to spend the rest of the day wrapped in a blanket. It sounds like she's quite happy that there is no school today. So we're teaching the children to use the text to find clues to draw conclusions. So other texts in the Reading Explorer scheme will be inferential text, inference text, and they will be building inferential skills. Now, inference and deduction are quite similar. Now, inference means to pick up ideas from the text that are not always written in the text itself. So you're not looking for what's there, you're looking for what's meant by it. So you're digging a little bit deeper. So on the screen at the moment, there's a picture of a boy and the sentence, the boy is kicking the leaves. So what time of year could it be? Well, if we look at the leaves, they're not green. So we know that the leaves change colour in autumn. We know that the leaves fall off the trees in autumn. So we can use our skills to possibly look at that picture and think, oh, it must be autumn. So we're looking for clues. We're looking for what's meant by it. So how is the boy feeling? Well, if we look at the picture of the boy, he's got a smile on his face, so we can assume that the boy feels happy. So where might the boy be? Well, he's got a coat on, he's got earmuffs on, he's got Wellington boots on, and he's kicking leaves. So he's probably not going to be in his bedroom. Where would we find leaves? We'd find them outside. Why would I wear a coat? Because I was going outside and it's cold. So they're picking up clues from the text. What could happen next? So this is where they could use their own knowledge. Maybe if they've been out kicking leaves in the autumn, what happened next for them? So looking at the text, looking at the pictures, and helping them decide what could happen next, logically thinking about what could happen next. And then we've got one here, my favourite subject. So this hasn't got a picture, it's got text, it's got writing. So it says, I love science because we do great experiments like launching parachutes and making electrical circuits. When I get home, I'm going to have another go at making a space rocket powered by balloons. I hate running out of time in experiments, but if I have tea early, it should be okay. So, has the child run out of time in experiments before? Well, if we have a look, the children will look at the text and think, right, well, has he? He just say he hates running out of time in experiments. So maybe, yes, he does, because he's saying that he hates when that happens. He's not said that happened today and it's the only time. So they're using the clues in the text. Now, is the child worried about something? Well, he's gone home and he's run out of time in the experiment and he wants to have another go at it. So maybe he is worried. Maybe he's worried he's disappointed his teacher. So it's helping the children use their skills to not look for what's there, but for looking what is meant by it. So the final part of a guided reading session would be the evaluative assessment of text. Now this is split up into different areas. So we have prediction, summarise and explain. And explain is further split. So we have to explain how information or narrative context is related and contributes to the meaning as a whole, how meaning is enhanced through the choice of words or phrases, and to make comparisons within the text. So when we're looking at prediction, that means to make a logical and reasonable guess about what could happen next. The children are taught to do this by looking at what has already happened, what the characters may have hinted is coming up, or what has been implied by the author's use of language. So for example, if someone brought a cake with lit candles into a birthday party, what would logically happen next? When we look at summarise, that means to sum up what you've read. So the children do this by reading the text, picking out the key points that are really important and giving a quick rundown of the text's main ideas. So what we say is, imagine that you've read a book and you have to text your friend about the plot. Which key messages would you tell them and which would you leave out? Now, when we look at explain, that is quite a vast area. There's quite a lot in there. So what we want to do is teach the children different things. So we want the children to explain how certain parts of a text build or change an overall message or meaning. They are also taught to explain how the characters or events within the story are similar to or different from each other, or how a singular character changes over the course of the story. And the children are also taught to spot examples of ambitious vocabulary and figurative language within a text. So when they find them, children are taught to think about why the author made those vocabulary choices and how they give a certain meaning to the text. So for example, an author could say that the water in the lake was still and reflective. So they could say that to describe the lake. However, for effect, they could describe the water as like a sheet of glass. It still gives us the impression that the water in the lake is still and reflective. It just does it with figurative language, which makes the text a little bit more exciting and interesting. I hope this video has given you a little bit of an idea of how reading progresses from early years up to the end of Key Stage 2 at Earlham Primary School. If you would like any further information, please feel free to email me and I will help you out the best that I can. Thank you very much for watching.